if you go in with like an if, right? It's like the worst way to go in. If you don't pay me more, you're already in a bad position because you're coming in with the threat. And you can't be seen to go in threatening people, because then what are you going to do if they say no? And I think if you're going in for that type of conversation, the smartest way to go in is in a way believing that they are going to say no. Because if in likelihood, if they do say no, or there's some counter offer that you're not ready for, what are you going to do afterwards? It's
because if you say, if you don't give me a pay rise, I quit, they go, well, we ain't giving you one. You're like, shit.
Taxi. Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah. It's a really dangerous way to go in, and you shouldn't threaten people. Plus, there's a whole sort of bunch of stuff, right? You might not know about what's actually going on with the organization's finances. So in our data, I mean, we've worked with about 50,000 managers, and we've got data on about 15,500 managers now. And one of the questions we asked managers was, do you understand the organization's finances? I don't know what percentage you reckon would say yes, but it's 47%.
And I reckon most of them are wrong.
Yeah. Probably.
You know, like they think they know, but they don't.
Yeah, they might have no idea.
When I worked in an organisation, you would always think that you were the hardest working person. You step up a level and you go, oh, this is where the real problems are.
Yeah.
You know, you're at this level and you think, God, this is the trenches. You move up and then you're like, there's a whole nother layer of concern here that is so much bigger.
Yeah.
And you realise then the people at the top, they're just dealing with the end of the world every day, basically from an organisation perspective.
Yep.
And you feel you're super important to the machine, but if you go in like that, they can be like, actually, we can replace you, and we don't want someone who comes in swinging for a pay rise or whatever.
And I mean, people do irrational maths, right? So I interviewed, it was the CEO and CFO of a big healthcare company. So I was asked to go on stage and interview them. I'm not an interviewer, you guys are interviewers, but it's not what I do for my day job.
Barely. We're barely interviewers.
We're figuring it out. We're learning on the job.
You're doing better than I am at it. So I go on stage, and then as I'm getting on the stage, the CFO, and I've got 300 managers. So it's not like an intimate conversation, is it? Because you sort of look right and you've got 300 people staring at you. But as I get on stage, the CFO says to me, Wayne, ask me whatever you want, right? Because I don't want you to look like some stooge of management. So as I'm getting on the stage, I'm thinking, this is good, right? So he unveils the figures, like the profit figures, and they are brilliant. The crowd erupts into applause. I start clapping. I don't know why I'm clapping. I'm there clapping. Yeah. I don't know why I'm getting any of it, right? So I said to him, look, I'm no genius, mate, but I can divide that number on the screen by the number of people in this company. And if I divide that number, that's way more than the 1% pay rise they've been told they're going to get. So where's the money? And he's like, I never worked with him again after. True story, yeah. True story. But he did a good answer, and he said, we've invested X million in IT infrastructure, we've invested money in building services project. And when he explained the money away, it made absolute sense. The story he explained took like 15 seconds tops. But what they've done is produce this beautiful sort of thick brochure of pie charts and bar graphs to 300 managers to go back and sit with their teams and explain the finances. And I said to him, with all the will in the world, these people are not going to go back and do that because they've been at the conference for 2 days. They've probably got 300 to 400 emails. With all the will in the world, they're not going to go and sit and go through that conversation. But if they take that headline figure back and the 1%, right, we've made X million profit, but it's 1% pay rise. This is the manager talking to the team. What did the team say? We've been shafted.
Yeah.
And they're absolutely right, because there's nothing to fill in the gaps. It's not like you'd say to the team, hey guys, it's 1%. And the team are like, fair enough. We probably made some investments for the future sustainable growth of the company. They're not thinking that. They're thinking we got done over. So, what we're saying to the managers is and we said to the group in the audience, we said, when you explain this number, you've got to use the story that this guy just explained and explain what happens with. Most people are quite rational if they're given the info. I might not like it, but I get it.
So if you're that individual then and you're going, okay, I've just had a conversation with my colleague who went to a different business and they're earning 20% more for me for doing the exact same job.
Yeah.
I need a goal now or like a plan. How do you flesh that out?
Well, I think the starting point is then to look at what your value is. And I think this is the one thing that you can control, right? Going into a situation where you believe that you should have a certain amount of money is one thing. And that you might be right or wrong. And we don't know what reality is. What you can control is the value that you're bringing and the value that you're genuinely adding to the organization or to the team or to the people the organization serves. That could be clients, customers, patients, if it's hospital, whatever it might be. So I think that's the key thing, is to start with working out like what value do you bring to this and build a case. Right, so you want to go into that conversation with like a business case. If this was, I don't know, you're going to go and try and upsell someone on this, it might be that the fact that you've bought this for years, right? You've paid me the same amount of money for the last 5 years, but now I'm coming to you saying this does new things. Really? Looks like the same cup to me.
Yeah.
I bought it for 5 years in a row. It pretty much works. So yeah, but I'm different. I've changed. I've added more value. Really, I can't see the value. And often the big danger is that you haven't had good conversations that are documented about objectives and goals. It's really ethereal and what's the word? I need to hit that. It's really like, I guess it's difficult to be able to make an assessment on someone's performance and growth if there's nothing to assess them on, right? So very few people have good structured, well-structured one-to-one conversations on a regular basis with their line manager, which result in a clear set of objectives. And then the problem comes at the end of the year for some sort of review or appraisal conversation, and it might be hard to demonstrate what you actually achieved. And also as a member of the team, you can get pulled in 100 different directions. So I might sit there at the beginning of the year, you're my manager, we agree these 5 things that I'm there to do, makes sense to both of us and the organization. Next day comes, I get pulled out into another project. I get asked to do something else. You ask me to do something else. I feel like I've worked my socks off for the year. Then we sit back, 364 days later to assess these objectives, and you're like, you've not delivered them. But
you asked me to change departments halfway through the year.
I've been so busy. But I can't justify a pay rise for you because you've not delivered on these. And these objectives got rolled up into something else. And often, depends on the size of organization, I might have to go in, you're going to, as my manager, I'm depending on you to go and fight my corner to be able to convince other people in a decision about who gets pay rises. Because it's not often that we just blanket pay rise everyone, especially if you're asking for an exceptional pay rise, right? If you're asking for maybe inflation or what the company's giving, that's one thing. But in this case, we're probably going for something that's going to be some way life improving, right? It's going to improve my quality of life to some degree. And you're probably talking 10 to 20% of a pay rise.
If you're looking to get a pay rise, you can watch the full episode with Wayne Clark right here. T did, and he got a pay rise.
All right.
Didn't deserve it.